I'll give you some pieces of advice about fundraising at the seed round level. We can extend that to the A round a little bit as well. One thing I would say is Naval's got this quote that I like, at AngelList. He says that every seed round he sees is unfundable till it's oversubscribed, and there is such a tipping phenomena. And as much as you wish it wasn't so from both sides, there's definitely kind of a herd mentality on the fundraising side. It's about supply and demand. In reality, the more professional investor you are, you only have so many hours in the day, and you're going to focus on the ones that you're going to lose if you don't actively do something, as opposed to the ones that you can wait and time is on your side. I think that one of the things that was incredibly frustrating for me, this is going to be a winding answer, by the way, about entrepreneurship raising money is when you're raising money, it is literally the most important thing you're thinking about. And it's all you're thinking about because it's survival. And they often say the only two reasons companies go out of business is you run out of heart or you run out of cash. That's really the only two reasons you die. Whereas on the venture side, literally you're meeting with hundreds and hundreds of companies on a very regular basis. And, not any one of them is that important. In aggregate, you really don't want to miss the one deal that you really wanted, but there's a huge asymmetry in how important that one individual meeting is, and it's really a weird thing. And in fact, it elicits really bad behavior sometimes, and I hate to see, but now that I'm on the venture side, the typical, yeah, great meeting, never get back to you, never tell you what's going on, and don't even give you feedback because in theory, the opaqueness of the business and the transparency is all gone, and it's better to keep optionality of, well, I'm not going to tell them this company's no good because what if it changes in a couple months? There's no downside. And so one thing I try to do as an entrepreneur is I try to flip it the other way. So I try to get my nose really fast and tell them why. And it's not always easy to do, but that's kind of one thing we start with. So with that asymmetry in mind, what happens on the seed round is really different, and this is on the A as well, if you're being courted or if you're knocking on doors. Big difference. And so, if everyone can be in a perfect world at every round, you've accomplished enough that you're being courted. And easy to say, but that's kind of the perfect situation, is if you have enough runway to get to the next local maximum in your story, enough that you have kind of multiple bidders or multiple people chasing you. Because for venture capitalists, the dirty secret is they're generally risk averse, and you have to create more fear of missing the next big thing than the fear of investing in a loser. I mean, that's kind of the mentality, right? And so I always say you're only as good in M&A or in fundraising as your second best term sheet or your second best offer. If you only are negotiating against one person, then in general, they're going to be really slow, they're going to give you really bad terms, and it's going to drag. So first context, and I did spend a year at Redpoint Ventures as an entrepreneur in residence when I was debating whether to be an entrepreneur some more or go try the venture thing. And I was just shocked and amazed. It's sort of subtle that I could kind of pigeonhole almost every deal into either a buy-side deal or a sell-side deal. And immediately you could tell, because either the entire firm was brainstorming, why do we even like this thing? Is this thing any good? Or how are we going to win this thing? And how are we going to win this thing means how are we going to take them out to dinner? Who do we know that we can call to call these guys and impress them? How do we knock the legs out of our competition that also wants to win this deal? That's a fun problem to have when you're on the entrepreneur side, is when there's too much demand for your company. Okay, so that's the first thing, is figuring out, as you coordinate your money, how do you get enough traction to be on the being courted side is a great thing. Back to the seed round, I think one thing interesting that's happening now on the seed stage is that there are more options now than ever before. It used to be that you raised money from a single entity, and it was control, advice, and cash, and they're all lumped together like a boombox. Now you can actually separate those three things out, and like a component stereo, get them from different places, and it's a really interesting phenomenon. I think 10 years ago this never happened, but you see people now saying, well, I'm going to take the highest dollar value of dumb money from some rich family office or some YouTube millionaire that's passive. I'm going to get advice from people in industry and give them 25 basis points each off the cap table, and they'll give me free advice. And I'm not even going to do control. For now, I'm just going to opt out of control. And I think that there's a double-edged sword to that, which is I'd rather have no control than bad control any day of the book. As you get later in the game, you generally are going to give up control, so you probably want to orchestrate it so the control goes to the right people. But that's a fascinating thing where none of this could happen in the past. Back to your specifically around the seed round, one of the things that I was kind of alluding to earlier is when you look at the seed round, there are more sources of capital than ever before, and their reasons for investing are more diverse than ever before in the past. Right? When they were clumped together, it was generally kind of early stage, institutional investors that were in it for a certain reason, primarily to make money. I think that now in the seed round, you'll see investors that are doing it anywhere from they have no hobbies to they want to pay it forward to they want to make money to they want to dip their toe into becoming famous because they found the next big thing to they want to see if they could be the next venture capitalist. And it just really, really ranges the gamut. I think when you look at syndicates, and that could be in the form of kind of old school syndicates like the Band of Angels or like the Angel Forum or Keiretsu, there's some homogenous basis to the people that are part of the syndicates, so their reason for investing are more similar. And so I would say that if you're considering a syndicate type of route, you really want to get underneath, what's the core reason they want to invest and how aligned is that with, what you're trying to put together. At a 10,000 foot level, I often describe the Band of Angels, which I'm pretty involved in still, as these syndicates as much more value investors. And it's not always true, but in general, when you look at these syndicates that are 50 to 60-year-old ex-operating guys, they generally are investing in what I would call value investments. Their ideal is a Series A deal that for some reason is going for a Series C price and maybe needs a little help along the way. And that's what they're very good at because these are operating guys that understand numbers, are not really into hype, and in fact have been burned a lot of times when they made an early stage investment, something was successful, and as the company raised more and more money, actually crammed out their ownership. And so they've had quite a bit of scar tissue around big successful companies that they invested early and did not make money. And so as a result, what do they like? They like something that's got less risk, lower price, and a lot of them all day long will invest in something in a $3 million valuation, which is probably closer to the right valuation, what it should be, or maybe on the low end, and selling it back to a company at 30 before any of this funding drama and push-pull hits. And so that's one thing to think about. It's not a bad thing. I mean, for a lot of people, that is a good exit. That's probably the easiest 10-bagger you'll find is find the right sector, build something early, and sell it off early. AngelList is a pretty wide variety of different investors. I've talked to a few investors that are very, very high frequency investors on AngelList. I was talking to a guy the other day that in the first 45 days made 30 investments in this year. So with about one every other day kind of thing. And I asked him, what are your 10 criteria for investments? And making money was not one of the 10, and return on investment was not one of the 10. It was the other answers I gave, which is, I made money on my exit, I want to pay it forward. I don't have any hobbies, I want to be part of cool stuff. Those are kind of cool investors to have, right? Maybe. It depends what you're looking for. A lot of these guys on AngelList, I often say, are momentum investors. They're looking for kind of that Series C deal that for some reason is going for a Series A price. Oftentimes, the AngelList investors, the social proof of who else is in the round matters almost too much. So there's definitely a lot of lemming behavior, which is if you get somebody that is a semi-celebrity or somebody that is people look up to on AngelList to kind of start the investment, then the rest kind of fall in place. Now, the downside is you get a lot of guys with not a lot of skin, and it's a little bit like herding cats, where you may get lots of small checks, or you get people that are on lots of deals and are flying around, and it's just a low priority for them. And oftentimes I've seen an inverse correlation between how prestigious the named investors are in like an AngelList syndicate and how much value they actually add, because the ones that are doing lots of great deals and have a lot of fame from their company are generally pretty busy guys. And so you'll see that a lot as well. I have seen a lot of one of the tactics is to get a named brand person on AngelList or that type of thing to lead it by giving better economics. I've even been in a pitch where in the middle of the pitch, people are saying, but we'll give you better economics than the rest if you lead it, because we know that when you're in, other people will be in. And it's kind of an interesting kind of poker game going on over there. The other thing on the momentum side is the optics of having a $1 million round that is $700,000 filled and there's only $300,000 left versus having a $300,000 round that zero is filled is immensely different. And so a lot of times you'll see on the momentum investing side, orchestrating something that looks like a smaller round and making it look like it's mostly filled up to get people kind of off their seats and kind of going through the process.